What's up, Austin Fray? Welcome to Carter House Studio.
Over the last couple weeks, I've done a tour of studio tours. I've got a bunch of new episodes, really excited. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, let me know your favorite part. All right, so I met this guy, Austin Fray, back at a music bed party here in Nashville.
Slate.
He's awesome. He's a composer, he's an artist. He makes music out of his home studio for himself, his independent music, but also for film and television and movie trailers and theme parks. I'll put links to Austin down in the description. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. More on that later in the video. It's freaking awesome. Let's go check it out.
Welcome to Carter House Studio. This is my composing, producing space, mixing, mostly the first two. I guess I'm more practical with my gear, so you won't see anything like super pricey or like super exotic. It's just kind of, it gets the job done, but I think it does it at a pretty high level. I just don't think you need like the absolute best to get a great product. And I guess the one place where I might like change that mentality is with monitoring. I do have like pretty good ATCs, so that's kind of where I splurge. But I think I'm more of a variety person, so having like one really good mono synth, one really good polyphonic synth, and then like kind of one of everything with pedals and guitars behind you. Same thing with mics too.
What is it that you do now? How did you get into it?
I make breakfast in the morning and think about all the work I'm not doing right now. Got into that the old-fashioned way. I've just been doing my own stuff lately. I have 2 EPs that I'm about to put out, which I'm really stoked about. One of them is really more personal, more just like music that I would want to make, more orchestral, classical, sad. The other one is also me, but it's definitely more useful in the sense of like being synced. I've needed to take about 6 months off to not think about client work as much and really just do something that like I think is fun and inspiring. That's what I'm doing right now. But last year I did a lot of immersive work, which is like not necessarily Dolby Atmos. I feel like when people say immersive, they think that format. I think immersive is more about like physical installation of music. So I did like a theme park ride for SeaWorld. I did hours of music for SeaWorld. I did like the biggest aquarium in the world, like this thing where you stand in front of a 70-foot tall piece of glass at the very bottom of this enormous aquarium, and did like a 15-minute loop of music for that. Yeah, I also worked on a TV show last year. So I don't think it's been like announced or anything.
Okay.
So I'll probably have to keep that under wraps.
Okay.
But I did like additional music
No one will see this. What's it called?
Yeah. Yeah, I work for Mark Isham every once in a while as a writer for him. I think he's done Remember the Titans, A River Runs Through It, Once Upon a Time, or A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh, okay.
We should probably just like cut out this whole part because I'm like butchering it. I think he did like Point Break. He's been around for a long time. Yeah, so I don't do that quite as often, but this immersive stuff is like way more current, or what I feel like is the most energy behind it in my career. And it's really interesting because you're kind of like broken free from the stereo. Every attraction or ride or experience or whatever it is really its own world. And not only are you creating music custom for the moment and the experience, like a typical score, but you're also creating a whole new format of audio that's like bespoke for that room.
What was this building? When you got the house, was this already like this?
This was already set up. I think it was made for like an office, and I think they had the intentions of making it like a separate like ADU, but it's not actually zoned for that.
Okay.
So I had a contractor, Josh Niles in Nashville, did a great job. They put like mass load vinyl on all the walls and then an additional layer of 5/8 drywall to really just deaden it up. And then they put this 1-inch thick foam all around and dropped the cloud up here. Extra clouds up here.
Oh, Alex McVeigh?
Yes, Alex McVeigh did it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alex. Alex is the man. So yeah, I was inside for the first 6 months and then eventually was able to move into here. We've got like a utility room, all the non-boozy drinks you could possibly imagine. So this is more niche, but I've got like 2 sample servers in here running like Vienna and Contact. So all the strings are on the left one and all like the brass and choirs on the right one. And then they come together on this network switcher, which like combines the 2 like network signals into one, and that heads back to the studio. Yeah, got a bathroom back here. If you ever just are mixing way too loud and getting sweaty, you got a whole shower. So yeah, this is just like set up to where everything's in arm's reach. I like to have just the inputs of this ready to go with the patch bay. So I can, everything's right now. Like, yeah, the Prophet, I can toss that straight into the effects pedals. Yep. Through all the Chase Bliss madness.
You said you got started by just writing your own music
Yes.
as an artist.
I've done that ever since I was like 14 or so. And that took me through college.
What was that music like?
Very similar to
Really?
what it is today. A lot of electronic influences, a lot of rock influences. Jazz was always like the more academic stream of music that I was exposed to, like as opposed to classical stuff. I really fell in love with like the Dark Knight score, Gladiator when I was younger, and that really got me focused in on film music. And that kind of like really collects the worlds of jazz, rock, electronic, maybe not so much jazz, but there's definitely an eclectic sense in film music as far as the harmonics of it. That translating into the orchestra. I was passionate about that all through college, but eventually I had like an internship with the trailer music company, Confidential Music, which is run by John Hansen and Kyle Bien. Still write for them on occasion. That really clicked and showed me like what was possible with like cinematic music, and that it wasn't a pipe dream, that like there's people doing it. That kind of just gave me the tools and like the ear to take my music to the next level, and they really helped me a ton with that. I had some early successes in the trailer world, so they were doing trailer music. I had a placement that really just kicked off my career and showed me that like it was truly possible. And so I got the bug from that, and it took me to LA.
What was that, and how old were you?
Yes, I was 20, I think. It would have been 2014, and it was the theatrical trailer for Unbroken. I read the book before it was ever a movie.
Yeah.
And I knew the movie was coming out. I was stoked. And then I get a phone call one day when I'm at a different internship, and they're like, hey, they just placed your music. Kyle and John like did a good amount of work on that. Like looking back on it 10 years later, I'm like, oh man, they really like pushed that to the next level over
That's
the
so
line.
exciting at 20.
Yeah, when I was 20. So like I went to like the movies with my friends, and like it played before, I think like Rise of the Planet of the Apes or something. That was surreal. I think by then like my sights were kind of on LA. I just knew that I needed to do orchestra stuff. I think the most inspiring library is just a string library that sounds good when you write a melody on it, because then like your melodies don't sound like garbage samples. So what I use is Cinematic Studio Strings, and that runs on a different computer. So this is back in the closet.
Nice.
They actually have a sampled rebo, so like a da 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 da, like that kind of sound, which very few libraries have that. So. And this is from Chuck Choi at Remote Control. So Zimmer's tech guy makes these, and it's called Choi Sauce Designs. So it's like a MIDI fader bank, but you have like a full console 100mm throw on the fader, which allows you to really like get a little bit more surgical and more precise with your mod wheel stuff. This is where it's all at. Because once you like record every part in the orchestra with like a live automation pass of this, you get this really like organic breathing thing that really is you. I mean, as far as other libraries, there's tons of stuff. Big fan of the orchestral tools, Time Micro, just really interesting. Textures.
The company's called Orchestral Tools. I've never
Yeah.
heard of them. That's awesome.
They're out of Germany. Spitfire, of course, great stuff. Definitely like better for textures than like nuts and bolts like orchestra. I haven't used Spitfire for like primary orchestra in a long time, but
Shout out to them.
Yeah, sorry, Spitfire. Working for them again for like another release. They do like 7-track releases every 90 days or so.
Okay.
So I did 1 track for one of the releases one time, and they recorded it at East West, where you worked.
That's right.
So
That's great.
I got to see my music performed by a 35-piece string orchestra in Studio One.
Yeah.
In like full brass, and
year-
that completely changed my life.
What year was that?
2015, spring of 2015. Weezer was there, yeah. Spring 2015.
I was there because I was
Okay.
on. That was Jake Sinclair was producing that in
Yep.
Studio 2.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that. Okay, so yeah, I was there till 2016.
Yeah, we were in 3 and 1.
Yeah.
We did like low winds
Yeah.
and low strings in Studio 3.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, we were at the
Small,
same time.
small little world.
Yeah.
Well, that changed my life.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
hearing that recording, the placement was one thing, but the recording was like drugs. I was like hooked. It was bad.
Did you stand in the live room while they
Oh
played it?
yeah, I sat in the chair in the back during the brass, which was like hair-raisingly powerful. We had 10-piece brass, like 6 horns, 4 low brass. Yeah, it was game over after that, and actually like knocked on Hans Zimmer's door. I don't recommend doing that, but I did that during that trip,
Yeah.
and kind of knew like the right name to ask for through a friend that had done it, like the internship. And the front desk worker like kind of broke protocol. I won't say who it is, but I went on to work with them,
Oh,
and we
that's
talked
great.
about it after the fact. So that led to an internship, which led to like various chance happenings. I got a job as an assistant for one of the companies at the property where Hans Zimmer works, and that he owns. Bleeding Fingers Music was
Okay.
where it kind of got my start. There's an unfortunate thing that happened with a guy I was working for in his personal life. And there was a moment where I needed to kind of like step in and pick up some slack,
Yeah.
and that was noticed. That turned into a full-time job, like a promotion to be a composer for them.
Yeah.
And then that was in the end of 2015, right after college, which I was not at all prepared for that gig. The orchestral recording happened right at the tail end of college.
Wow.
I was actually assisting Charlie Peacock in
Okay.
his studio. He said some really great like just words of advice that have stuck with me to this day. Really wise man. But we could tell that like I wasn't the right fit for that world.
Yeah.
And he was very kind about it. But
Yeah.
like I was not a good assistant. Like, I had too much to say,
Yeah.
you know. And I think more after the fact I'm like realized that I'm like, oh man, he really put up with a lot. He knew how much I was into film music and all that, and he was good enough. He was kind enough to really lead me towards that and to
Yeah.
like give me some feedback and like, you should say no to this and say yes to this. And
Yeah.
so I had like a job lined up with an animation company in Dallas, but he was like, don't do that. Go work for Hans for free, which I did,
Yeah.
which was making coffee and taking out the trash and ordering his sushi.
Yeah.
But still, it gets you in the environment to where the ceiling's much higher there.
Yeah.
Or if you go to Dallas to go take a staff gig as a composer at an animation company, you have no camaraderie of musicians. You just
Okay.
have a bunch of animators. But
Yeah.
if you go to like remote control productions with like 50 full-time studios running with all the best composers in the world, like that's debatable. But yeah, there's so much energy and so much you can learn. That was a really influential part of my story. Piano is like my main thing for sure. I grew up playing piano. This is like definitely the pride and joy. Got it from my dad in Tarzana.
Oh, cool.
It's great. It's been with me on several moves. Got a U3. I've got these baffles set up, or made those myself actually, but for like reamping, and it's just general like storage. I might do like I don't know, I thought about doing like a ISO sort of like vocal booth back there, but we'll see if I get to that. These are totally just desert island synths to me. Like I can do almost anything I need with like an analog sound with these 2 options. So this is Subsequent 37, which is the next iteration from the Sub 37.
Okay.
Don't really know what the difference is, but it's great. Prophet 6, all analog, polyphonic. This is a Make Noise No Coast, which is like a semi-modular. It's kind of just weird. Like you don't come to this synth with something in mind. You come to it to see what it's going to give you, and maybe that's just like a testament of my own patching skills, but you really never know what you're gonna get with it. And it doesn't run like a typical subtractive synth with like
Yeah.
filters and stuff. It does like really odd harmonic like additions and multiplications, which It's just interesting. Here's another quirk from Brian Eno. Andrew, you should pull one out of here. Tell us what you get.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
What is it?
Use filters.
Use filters. There you go. Not with this one. You gotta
yeah.
go over here for that. This is random. They're just all these little like quips, kind of like Rick Rubin style, that'll say some sort of like vague creative prompt to kind of like hijack your brain. So if you're just like stuck, like sometimes these are fun to just kind of like.
Yeah.
Here's the mic cabinet. Got like a Vanguard V13. This is the Gen 1 tube mic. That's just like for vocals. This one's cool. This is the AEA KU, I want to say 5. So this is like a short ribbon. It's active. You can pretty much use it with any pre.
That's next on my
Yeah.
list. I've been crossing off my AEAs.
It's a lot like a SM7, the way you'd use it, but
Yeah.
it's a ribbon, so just kind of more interesting. Pair of KM184s, a good high quality pencil.
What are you throwing on the piano?
A lot of times I'll do a tube right in the center. So I'll do 414s over there. So I'll put room mics all the way against the wall, kind of like point it at the corners of the room. Then I'll do pencils either out wide or like down, catching, like pointing at the hammers to get like more detail. I also have some Cascade fatheads, which are great for doing like a stereo ribbon sound. All the studio's running through this Apollo 8X. It's also chained with the Twin. This will run or control like the monitor level and also have like a pretty useful headphone DI guitar. I just put all through that. I think there's 2 pre's in that. So one of them I've always kept available for like a miscellaneous mic kind of on the fly.
Yeah.
And the other one's always guitar DI. I use the warm audio stuff, so 412. I think 2 of these channels go into here, and then these 2 channels actually go into this Focusrite Claret, which runs ADAT. Can't see it, but there's an Octo satellite for universal audio. The Motu MIDI, I just kind of got that recently. That runs all my MIDI outputs. That is connected to the tooth sense over here, and then there's a handful of MIDI functional pedals on this end. This guy. The Chase Bliss stuff kind of runs on its own. I've got this pitchfork at the top of it, which is really cool. I use it pretty often actually. It has 2 pitch destinations that run simultaneously along with the dry. The other cool thing about it is that if you plug in an expression pedal into it, it'll slide up to the destination.
Whoa.
And it does it really smoothly too. Yeah, this is like a rat fuzz, I guess. Warp vinyl, pretty cool. I give it like a 6 out of 10 useful.
Okay.
Definitely cool, definitely cool.
Fun.
Not
more fun than
Maybe
useful.
not worth it, but certainly cool. Low pass filters are hard to come by in this pedal format. This is a 24 decibel per octave, so it has a good hard like synth style cutoff, which is really useful for me. Morning Glory, analog delay. This Katana boost, I only use this when I'm driving the input of the tube pre over here. This turns it into like an overdrive.
Nice.
But it sounds incredible. The top here is all stereo. So I just got the new Mood V2. It runs out of the patch bay into these 2 reamp boxes that hit this stereo cable into here. This runs stereo into a Auto Boom, B-O-U-M. Shout out to Tony Anderson for the rec. This thing is super sick because it has compression, drive, and low pass all together, and it has like a parallel mix knob. And of course you can tweak all those. I think there's like 4 types of drives. Pretty killer reverb, like nothing super special about it. It's stereo. Gen Loss 2, it's pretty cool to modulate like the reverb itself. It makes like the tape sound a little bit more drastic
yeah.
when you're actually modulating like the tail of the reverb. This Red Panda Particle is a bit of a wild animal. It has like this granular function from small to wide where it chops up the audio, and these are all different algorithms for it. It'll just do kind of odd like textural digital stuff. This is pretty niche. I waited quite a long time to get this. I was on an email list waiting for like a drop of their next batch. It's called The Pill, and it's the only pedal this guy makes. It's in Switzerland. It's stereo, and it does a analog ducking effect like for EDM, and it takes a trigger input here, which you can like have like a kick track coming from an output from the Claret, into here, and then it'll do like this cool like sort of sound that you hear in like tons of music. So that's interesting. Don't use it a ton,
Yeah.
but it's really cool.
That's right. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater, and I want to tell you about Gear Exchange. Come with me. If you've ever bought any gear like me, and then you've wanted to get something new that came out and you want to sell it, well, the options aren't that great. But now we have Sweetwater's Gear Exchange, where you can actually sell your gear and have way lower fees. And if you accept a Sweetwater gift card as payment, there are no fees, no transaction fees or anything. Let's see what's in here. Fun fact, this is gonna be the first PRS I've ever played. Now, I don't have a PRS, but I do have some gear for sale on my Gear Exchange page. So I'll put a link to that down in the description. And if you want to sell some of your stuff, click any of the links down in the description, put them up on Gear Exchange, make some money, get some new gear, and back to the video.
I'm more of like a breadth of color rather than like deep quality for each guitar, because I'm not really a guitar player at all. So I kind of have like a spread of different types of things. So I have like a P-bass type color just from Squire. They're like $480, so they're fairly accessible as far as price point. This is a short scale with like nylon wounds. So it's just very much like a plunky, extremely different from the other one. This is more unique to kind of like my style. I had my friend replace the pickups. I got it because the cutaway is so deep that you can get a bow in here and you can bow the strings and really play it kind of like a cello almost, but through the pedals. So that's why I have that one. Baritone, humbucker, electric, single coil, and then a couple of acoustics. So try to have a lot of variety with guitars rather than one single guitar that's like my pride and joy. That's what the piano's for. Yeah, there's just tons of random little instruments. This is an Appalachian dulcimer, cigar box guitar with humbuckers. This is actually really useful for a slide. You can just kind of put on your lap, like a lap steel, but jankier. Alto sax, always got to honor your roots. Awkward 7th grader with a middle school fro, that was me. It's hard to imagine that now these days. You never know when you're gonna need some hand perk. One thing I'm big on is like doing your own cymbal rolls. So most of the work I've done is as a composer, which most composers will just fly in like a cymbal sample, like a swell that they love. I find that like actually recording your own creates a lot more life. You can actually craft like the shape of the crescendo compared to a sample. So I do have like a couple cymbals. I'll put up some 414s and record. You can follow me on Composed AF, COMPOSED AF, Austin Fray, as bleep that out. Yeah, and as always, never forget, do epic shit. No one else will do it for you.